Our apologies for being late, but we had to award all of our little children their greatly deserved recognition for the hard work they've been doing this year. Before we start our meeting, we need to have a moment of silence for some employees that have passed away.
Alcid Toops, retired school teacher. Franklin D. Pugh, Sr., retired school administrator. Margaret Mahler, retired school teacher. Laura V. Duplantis, mother-in-law of school board member Mr. Roger Dale DeHart. Thank you.
We now have our invocation and our pledge. Mr. Harding, would you help us to stand?
Lord, be with us during this meeting and dealing with the agenda at hand. May we treat each other with premium respect. We learn how to reject ideas without rejecting people and share a vision, although we may not share the same means. May this meeting be for each of us an opportunity to be a servant to the people we represent. We humbly ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Roll call, Ms. Brunei?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Michael LaGorn.
Here.
Mr. Gregory Harding.
Here.
Mr. Matthew Ford. Mrs. Debbie Benoit.
Here.
Mr. Don Crowdis. Mr. Clyde Hamner.
Here.
Mr. Roger Dale DeHart. Dr. Maybelle Trahan.
Here.
And Mr. Dane Voisin.
Here.
Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 5 on our agenda, meeting announcements. I guess you already know that we had the special recognition award ceremony today at 5:30. The 11th of November is Veterans Day. The November 13th through the 17th is American Education Week. 11/14, we will be having our committee meetings being pushed up because of Thanksgiving at 5 p.m., starting with education, then finance, executive, and finishing up with buildings. On the 16th of November, we have an ERC meeting, and that's Employee Representative Committee at 4:30, and at the Parent Representative Committee at 5:30 on that same day. November 20th to the 24th, we off for Thanksgiving holidays, and on December the 5th, we have our next regular school board meeting at 6 p.m. Item 6 on the agenda, board committee meeting reports. We begin this evening with buildings. Mr. Voisin.
Thank you, Madam President. The Buildings, Food Service, and Transportation Committee met at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, October 17, 2023, in the boardroom of the School Board office with the following members: myself as chair, Mr. Harding as vice chair, and Dr. Trahan. Also in attendance were Mr. Hamner, Mrs. Benoit, Mr. Ford, Mr. Roger Dale, the superintendent, and members of his staff. Recommendation number 1. The committee recommends that the board approve and accept the request of UDP Track Club to waive policy file E1.6, use of facilities, relative to the usage fee for Terrebonne High School's track for the 23-24 track season, November 8, 2023 to November 8, 2024, for practices only on weekdays, provided that the necessary insurance, nonprofit status, and all other school board policy requirements are met, and approval is obtained from the school's principal. So move, Mr. Hamner.
Second.
Second, Ms. Benoit. Any public comments? Mr. Hamner? Ms. Benoit?
No, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. Recommendation number 2, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for the building repairs project in response to Hurricane Ida at South Terrebonne High School from Thompson Construction Company, LLC, P.O. Box 187, Thibodaux, Louisiana, 70302, in the amount of $22,277,500. Accept alternate number 1 to replace main electrical transformer in the amount of $530,000. Alternate number 2 to replace 4-inch main water line in the amount of $34,000, and alternate number 3 to grind, polish, and stain concrete floors in lieu of vinyl flooring in the amount of $20,000 savings, and establish a total project budget in the amount of $24,793,351. Funds to be derived from FEMA reimbursement funds, $21,806,416, and local funds, $2,986,935, pending receipt of all necessary documents, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
So moved, Dr. Trahan, second, Mr. Hamner. Any public comments? Dr. Trahan?
I'm just thrilled that we actually have something's moving on with South Terrebonne to get her repaired. We should have, I think the timeline, if it hasn't been revised since the last time I saw it, we should have the school ready for the kids by the end of next school year.
Awesome, awesome. We're hoping so. Thank you. Mr. Hamner? None? Any other board members? Okay. Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. The rest was all informational. Let's see, there being no further business to come before the BFT committee, the meeting was adjourned at 6:30. I'll return the meeting back to you,
Thank you,
Madam
Mr.
President.
Wazan. Item B on the agenda, the next report from Education, Technology, and Policy Committee, Ms. Benoit.
Thank you, Madam President. So the Education, Technology, and Policy Committee met immediately following the 5 p.m. Building, Food Service, and Transportation Committee. Present were myself as chair, Mr. Matthew Ford as vice chair, and also in attendance were Dr. Maybelle Trahan, Mr. Dane Voisin, Mr. Clyde Hamner, Mr. Roger Dale DeHart, Mr. Michael Lagarde, Superintendent Bubba Ogeron, and members of his staff. There were no recommendations for this meeting. We had Mr. Tarbert presented something on Hope Squad, a suicide prevention program. And also, we had some of the directors and supervisors give us updates on some of the programs that they have. But there being no further business, I'll turn over the meeting
Thank you, Ms.
back to you.
Benoit. Item C, Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands, Mr. Hamlin.
The Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee met immediately following the 5 p.m. Building, Food Service, and Transportation Committee and Education, Technology, and Policy Committee meetings on Tuesday, October 17 in the board room. School board office with the following members present: myself, Chairman, Mr. Mike Lagarde, Vice Chairman, Mr. Roger Dale DeHart. Also in attendance were Dr. Maybelle Trahan, Mr. Dane Voisin, Ms. Debbie Benoit, Mr. Matt Ford, Superintendent Bubba Ogeron, members of the staff. The meeting was called to order. Recommendation number 1, the committee recommends the board approve and accept the renewal proposal for HCC Insurance Company for group health stop loss reinsurance with a specific deductible of $450,000 per claim with $250,000 tiered split fund, including a provision for no lasers and a 50% rate cap at renewal for an estimated annual cost of $608,344.80, effective January 1, 24 through December 31, 24. Moved by Mr. Voisin, seconded by Dr. Trahan. Any questions from the public or comments? Mr. Voisin? Ms. Trahan?
No, sir.
Any other members of the board? Any objection? Hearing none, the motion passes. Recommendation number 2, the committee recommends the board approve and accept the proposed fixed cost renewal from HealthCom, formerly Gilsbar, and United Healthcare, UMR, for the Terrebonne Parish School Board Group Health Plan for an estimated annual cost of $1,278,900, effective date January 1, 2024. Moved by Dr. Trahan, seconded by Mr. Voisin. Any members of the public wish to address this motion? Dr. Trahan?
No, sir.
Mr. Voisin? Any other members of the board? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, the motion passes. Recommendation number 3, the committee recommends that the board approve and accept the proposal from Terrebonne General Health Systems for an on-site wellness program with an estimated cost of $120 per person beginning January 1, 2024. Moved by Mr. Wazant, seconded by Dr. Trauma. Any members of the public wish to address this motion? Mr. Wazant, Dr. Trauma, any members of the board? Any objection to the motion?
I object.
Okay, good. Hearing 2 objections, note Ms. Benoit and Mr. Ford has objected. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It passed. There being no further business to come before the Finance, Insurance, and Section 16 Lands Committee, the meeting adjourned at 8:03 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Hamner. Item D, the Executive Committee report from October 17, 2023 meeting. The Executive Committee met immediately following the 5 p.m. Buildings, Food Service, and Transportation Committee, Education, Technology, and Policy Committee, and the Finance, Insurance, and Section 16's Land Committee meetings on Tuesday, October 17, 2023, in the boardroom of the School Board Office with the following members present: myself, President; Mr. Voisin, Vice President; Mr. Michael Lagarde. Also in attendance were Mr. Hamner, Ms. Benoit, Mr. Ford, Superintendent Orgeron, and members of his staff. Meeting was called to order. The Executive Committee examined and authorized payment of invoices for the current month, including supplemental payroll and travel expenses. There were no committee concerns at that time. Do I have a motion to accept the report? Motion by Mr. Voisin,
Second.
second by Mr. Hamner. Any public comment? Mr. Voisin? Mr. Hamner? Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. Being no further business to come to the Executive Committee, the meeting was adjourned at 8:05 p.m. Item 7 of our agenda tonight, the superintendent's agenda.
Okay, item 7A, 1, American Education Week is November 13th through the 17th, 2023, and it's an American Education Week that will be observed on November 13th to the 17th, 2023 in the Terrebonne Parish Schools. This week focuses attention on the importance of education and all that it stands for. Annually, the week preceding the week of Thanksgiving is proclaimed as American Education Week. 7A2 is Educational Support Personnel Day, November 15th, 2023. And this is the Educational Support Personnel Day will be observed in Terrebonne Parish School on November 15th, 2023. Annually, the Wednesday in American Education Week is designated as special day to honor the many contributions of school support employees.
Can we define school support, please?
It's categories such as custodial, secretarial, paraprofessionals that support
Okay.
schools
That's what I-
outside of the teacher.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
But,
ma'am.
you know, I'm going to go back to Mr. Ford's recommendation a couple of meetings ago where he said it would be nice to have, like, levels of people and then define who are in those levels. So when we give any raises, when we do any recognitions or anything, we know who we're talking about when we say
Okay.
that. I think that's a really great idea. I don't know if it comes before the policy committee, or can we just do that, or, you know, can staff do that,
Sure, certainly.
define
Certainly.
that?
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that would be very helpful
Okay,
to the public
fair
as well
enough,
as
yes.
to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, item B1, consideration of approval of bid receipt for the Upper Little Caillou demolition project. The recommendation is that the board approve and accept the lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for the demolition project in response to Hurricane Ida at Upper Little Caillou Elementary from LLJ Environmental Construction, LLC, P.O. Box 805 Harvey, Louisiana 70059, in the amount of $282,000, and establish a total project budget in the amount of $347,696. Funds to be derived from FEMA reimbursement funds, $312,926.40, and local funds $34,769.60, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
Moved by Mr. Voisin, second by Mr. Ford. Any public comment? Mr. Voisin?
Just excited to really start to move forward on this. Again, the community is looking forward to a new school.
Amen to that. Mr. Ford?
No comment. Are they recycling any of this stuff?
The only parts I know that's being recycled is I had requested that the graphics that the upper local high teachers had on the exterior doors that were such a big part of the school, and they had a graphic glass pane on the top of that, those were saved to be re-put into the new building.
So are we storing that?
Yes, it's in the Fletcher building right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And of course, the sign, the upper local high school is still up, the brick sign is still up. So-
I'm sorry, Doc.
Go ahead.
Andy, are you, any timelines? I know we'll have pre-construction and things like that, just so we can
Yeah, what are
have
we
a
looking
little
at?
timeline on this
What are
one.
we gonna see happening here?
Good evening, everyone. Andy Positeri with GFP Architecture. Of course, tonight's the big milestone, the approval. After that, I'm hoping, and I believe contracts are already here, ready to be signed, and have already, I think, been signed by the contractor. And so I'm expecting that timeline to be extremely
If
short.
it's in here, I'll have it signed in back here tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am. So I would say within the next week or 2 weeks, we can schedule pre-construction, issue a notice to proceed and get rolling. I mean, there's
And
not a lot
what
of.
exactly is that?
A pre-construction conference is just a meeting, and you have them with all of your construction projects, where once the successful contractor is on board, contractor signed, bonds are acquired, it's just kind of a last meeting to establish contract time, when's the start date, when's the finish date, what's the submittal sequence, talk about pay applications, everything from the beginning of the project to the end. We kind of have those conversations ahead of time so that there's no surprises. So it's kind of an
Do you know how
administrative.
lengthy or how comprehensive this demolition will be? Is there
It's-
actually pilings under there that has to be pulled
There
out,
are.
et cetera?
There are. So we have a 150-day, 150-day contract time. It's roughly 5 months. The building is pile supported, and so in this scope of work, they are going to, when they demolish the building structure, they're going to demolish the slab, and they will cut all of those piles 5 feet below the slab.
Oh, so you're gonna cut them 5 feet below and not
Yes,
pull
ma'am.
them out?
Once they're cut and in place, we're going to drive a 10-penny nail, a metal nail in there, so they can be located later with survey equipment. This contractor will also provide a survey at the end of the project that marks where those piles are, both in plan view and the top of the pile that's cut off. Same thing with all the utilities. All the utilities will be pulled back into the rights of way. We'll mark those on the survey. And so in the next phase, when we start designing the new building, we'll have all of that established. Part of the conversation right now is to try to avoid the bed of piles that are there with the new building, but we're still in the infant stages of that conversation right now, so. But to answer some of that question, it's a 5-month construction time right now, which should be able to start fairly rapidly.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, ma'am.
I will be on the buy side, parked there in my orange Avalanche. You see me, I'll be there, ready to observe it.
Bring a hammer and a
So,
shovel, they
and
might put you to
When
work.
you send some equipment to that location, tell somebody to give me a holler.
Yes, ma'am.
Question, Mr. Cross?
So you brought up an interesting subject there with the piles. You're cutting them, but then you're going to have to try to worry about building around them with your new slab. Has anyone checked to see if it is less expensive and quicker to pull those piles up, rather than having to
just-
cut them underground, identify them, miss them with the next pile drives for the
Well,
next
that's
building?
part of the reason, so I'll, 2 answers to that. Our experience with building demolition, and we demolished a building on the Lumcon campus on Dixon Road, behind Chabert Hospital, or Ochsner Hospital. There was a cost comparison done there, and cutting them was cheaper. And so, but in order to avoid the conflict that you mentioned, we're going to drive a nail in those piles so they can be magnetically located later. The surveyor for this job that you hopefully approve shortly will provide a survey to us at the end of that demo that tells us exactly where those piles are. And so we'll have that information in hand when we design the new school.
Mr. Ford?
When they tore down Southdown to rebuild, they put aside a handful of bricks for some of the people that were from Southdown, had been there for a while. Is that something you guys could do maybe for these people down Grand Caillou? I think Upper Little Caillou, Grand Caillou, same thing. They would like that whenever we get to that
I'm
step
sure-
as well.
I'm sure that can be arranged. It
Yeah.
wasn't discussed in fact, we specifically asked the question during the tail end of the design period if there was anything that needed to be in there that needed to be salvaged that hadn't already been taken out. And there wasn't anything that was identified, but I'm sure we can work with the contractor
just
to
set a
stockpile
few
a pile
aside,
somewhere
yeah.
off to the side.
I think they
We'll
would
talk
like
to them.
that.
The only thing I saw since the storm is that portable, I don't know if it's been emptied, but there was a lot of copy paper in that portable behind Upper Little Caillou. I mean, cases and cases, so we might want to check on that to see if that can be salvaged, if it's still there.
Okay.
Mr. Benmore?
I'm just going to give a shout out to Mr. Positari's company right now, because we had a ribbon cutting today at Nichols for their athletic facility, the new facility that was just built. It's phenomenal, and his company was involved
you.
in that.
I'm
And
gonna have to go see it.
it is absolutely beautiful. It's bigger than a football field.
You can't miss it.
Big- No, you can't miss it, but it's great. And
Thank
the
you.
governor was there, and
Yep.
they blessed it, and so y'all need to go look at it. But his company was involved.
Thank you.
Mr. Boison?
So you spoke of the design and the building, and I think I mentioned this in the past, and I think it's been conversation. Can we start that process of meetings soon instead of waiting for the 5 months to be over with and then start that process? That way
Absolutely.
things can fall into place
Yes, sir.
quicker.
We have had some early discussions with staff to establish what the needs of that new school will be, student population anticipated, things like that. So those conversations are starting to happen, but we will be, by the time 5 months comes around, I expect to be, I should say, heavily in the design process of the new one.
Good, good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Any public comment? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Number 2 is consideration of approval of a bid received for the building repair project at Honduras Elementary School. The recommendation is that the board approve and accept lowest bid received, meeting all specifications for the building repair project in response to Hurricane Ida at Honduras Elementary School from Freetown Builders LLC, 313 Gordon Street, Lafayette, 70501, in the amount of $337,000, and accept the alternate number 1 to add additional gutter and downspout repairs in the amount of $8,800, and establish a total project budget in the amount of $386,838. Funds to be derived from FEMA reimbursement funds, $340,234.20, and local funds, $46,603.80, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
Moved by Mr. Hamner. Second by Mr. Crowders. Any public comment? Mr. Hamner?
None.
Mr. Crowders? Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Okay, number 3, consideration for approval for reauthorization to advertise requests for qualifications for architectural and engineering services. The recommendation is that the board approve and authorize the purchasing department to advertise requests for qualifications for architectural and engineering services.
Moved by Mr. Harding.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hamner. Any public comment? Mr. Harding? Mr. Hamner?
I just have one question. I understand why some of these motions are being brought now, because we want to speed up the building. Why didn't this one go before committee first?
Okay, so if I can, I'll ask Ms. Bro to speak about the process of this pool of architects. Ms. Bro, would you share why we're going at it from this angle? And there's a very specific reason with some federal funds that we
Yes,
want to
sir.
talk about.
So we have, as you all know, because we've been dealing with this for quite some time, we have ESSER money, the COVID money. The last pot of ESSER money that we have ends September of 2024. So we have a little less than a year to spend the remainder of that funds. Because it is federal funds, you have to properly procure all of your services, all of your materials, and everything related to spending those funds. We believe that we may have some funds remaining that we could use to build the softball fields at Ellender and South Terrebonne. If there are funds remaining, and we're still working out a lot of details, and we have a lot of moving parts because it's a very large grant, but if there are funds remaining, and it looks like we can direct some of those funds towards those two softball fields, we would need architectural or engineering services to be able to build the fields and design and everything that it takes to build the field. This is a little bit preemptive that if we determine that we have that money to spend, then we will want to get started right away because there's an expiration date on these funds, and we want to make sure that we can get it all done by that date.
But that really doesn't answer my question. I understand why, we have to do this, but why didn't it say, go before the DFP last month and then brought to the full board meeting?
Well, because we didn't realize that we were going to maybe be able to do this. We were a few weeks ago thinking that maybe all of the money had been spoken for and that we would not be able to fit these projects in the grant. And we still don't know for sure, but it's looking a little more likely that we can. So we didn't have it in time for last month, and if we would bring it to you at the next committee meeting, it doesn't get approved until December. You have to advertise for 30 days. It just pushes it out further, and we lose a little bit more time, 6 weeks-ish of time. So that's why we're doing it now. Just in the interest of time.
Anything else, Mr. Hammond?
No.
Any other board members? Ms. LaGuard?
It seems like it take away the fairness from other companies, though. The bid, it takes the fairness away from the process.
The purpose of doing this is to keep it fair, Mr. LaGuard, because this way every engineering firm and every architectural firm who wishes to participate in this process has the opportunity to submit a proposal.
Any other questions? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Okay, number 4, consideration of approval of change orders for Hurricane Ida recovery projects. The recommendation is that the board approve and accept the following change orders for Hurricane Ida recovery projects and authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Wait, I got the name. Benoit. Second by Mr. Hamner. Any public comment?
So,
Any other board members? Before we finally finish it up, let's read the change.
okay,
Let's go through the change.
before we go through, this is the first time we do something that looks like this, where we have all of them lumped together. So, again, I'd like Ms. Bro to explain why the transition to this format, and so she can explain that now.
By the way, good job.
Yeah,
All right,
I
okay.
like it,
Yeah.
yeah.
I understand, but go ahead.
Okay, so this is the first time that we bring you something like this. Ordinarily, we would either wait and bring the recommendation at the time that we do substantial completion of the project, or if it's something large, like in the case we just had of Acadian and Legion Park's roof, we brought it to you right away because it was a substantial change. Over the summer during the legislative session, the legislature passed a law or amended a law that deals with change orders. And so the new law requires you as a board to take action on a change order before the work can start on the change order. In the past, we were able to evaluate it and tell them it's okay to continue. Again, in the interest of time, like the other one, sometimes if they're waiting for you to give them an okay on a change order, work may have to stop while we wait for authorization. With this new law, it gives us a window of 45 days from the day that the contractor and the architect submit the change order proposal to us to the time that you have to take action on it. Obviously, if we take the whole 45 days, there could be some kind of lag time in there in the construction while they're waiting for you to say, to approve the change order or to reject the change order. These all, the law went into effect August 1st. All of these change orders are change orders that have come about since August 1st. We're bringing them all to you at one time. And the reason, again, that we're not waiting to bring them to the next committee meeting and to the board is because we would be outside of that 45 days. So again, so that we're within the 45 days and we're not exceeding that limit, we needed to go ahead and bring these to you now. Going forward, we'll be able to bring them to you through committee and through the regular process that you're used to as we're presented with these change orders from the architects and the contractors.
Yes, sir.
What I like about it is the format, lumping a whole group of similar motions instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 motions at a time.
I got you.
Support.
Good
Yes, sir.
job.
Yeah.
So with respect to that, my concern or my question is, if we choose one of these line items that we don't want
You
to
have to modify that
approve,
recommendation.
You can pull it,
You can do that.
you can pull that separate line
you
item.
can vote on it separately.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
All right, so if you'd like me to read through them, I can read.
No.
Yep, y'all good? Okay, all right.
All right. Where we
So
at?
if I can say just a lot of these are issues, and architects and project managers are here from obviously things that were discovered after the work has started. So there's a lot of, when you start peeling back layers, there's more damage that was assessed after. So a lot of this is because of that. Or temporary roofs cause a lot of issues from the fastening of the roof, so we have things we had to kind of address because of that.
So do we have any objections?
I think
None heard? So
you needed to go to the motion maker and the second first.
I've done all the other steps already. First, second, public comment, the whole
No.
9 yards.
No, you didn't do that.
I must have made a mistake on my checklist here then. We'll start again if you want to.
Oh, we did, I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. We're at a point, we're at the vote point. Any objections? None heard, so ordered. Item number 5.
Okay, number 5, consideration of approval of change orders for ESSER projects. The recommendation is that the board approve and accept the following change orders for ESSER projects. Funds to be derived from the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, ESSER 3, and further authorize the board president to sign all necessary documents pertaining thereto.
Moved by Mr. Hamner, second by Mr. Voisin. Any public comment? Mr. Hamner?
None.
Mr. Voisin? Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Okay. Item 6, Personnel Section, 6A, 1, Leave of Absence, Family and Medical Leave. The recommendation is that the board approve a family and medical leave in accordance with Policy File 11.4A for Beverly Miles, School Board Bus Operator in the Transportation Department, beginning November 9th, 2023 through December 19th, 2023, medical.
Second.
Wait, moved by Mr. LaGorde.
Crowders.
Oh, Mr. Crowder, second by Mr. Hamner. Any public comment? Mr. Crowder? Mr. Hamner?
And we already have somebody to fill our place in, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered.
Item B, personnel actions for the period of September 22nd, 2023 through October 27th, 2023. Lists of professional, instructional, and non-instructional support personnel, appointments, resignations, and retirements. That's for your information only, board members.
Thank you, Mr. Orgeron. Item 8 on the agenda, individual board members. Myself, we need to reschedule the November committee meeting from Tuesday, November 21st to Tuesday, November 14th, 2023 at 5 p.m. due to the Thanksgiving holidays.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Benoit. Second by Mr. Voisin. Any public comment? Ms. Benoit? Mr.
ma'am.
Voisin? Any other board members? Any objections? None heard, so ordered. We also need to move the January 2nd meeting because we are not returned yet to work from the Christmas holidays on the first Tuesday of January. So we rescheduled school board from January the 2nd to January the 9th, 2024, due to the Christmas holidays, and rescheduled the agenda deadline from noon Wednesday, the December 27th, to noon Wednesday, January the 3rd. Move, sir, I didn't hear. Moved by Mr. Hamner, seconded by Mr. Voisin. Any public comment? Mr. Hamner, Mr. Voisin, any other objections? None heard, so ordered. Ms. Debbie Benoit, legislative update.
So there's really nothing in the state to update, but Mr. Hamner just shared some exciting news that there might be some movement on the WEP and the GPO to the Louisiana Retired Teachers Association. He's been contacted by Mr. Ben Ryder, who is with the legislators in Washington DC to have a conference call about this tomorrow. So, and I also, if y'all got the newsletter from Garrett Graves, he said in there that he is ready to bring this issue to the House for a vote. And I think we have a good chance of that since we have Mike Johnson as the speaker. So it looks like things are finally maybe falling into place for that. So that's the only announcement I have.
Wonderful.
It would be wonderful, absolutely,
Wonderful.
absolutely. That's it,
Is that it, Ms. Benoit?
yes.
Being no further business to come before the Terrebonne Parish School Board this evening, the meeting is adjourned.